I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, the Arakwal people of the Bundjalung Nation, and pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging. Are you ready to win at the game of life? Well, throw out that rulebook and get down to the business of being the best and most authentic version of you. Welcome to the Human Design Podcast. We're changing the rules around success, abundance, purpose, love, and life, where we're creating a planet where everyone can thrive in a world that loves and supports each other. I'm your host, Emma Dunwoody, a qualified master coach, human design expert, podcaster, and entrepreneur that is living the life of my dreams, breaking all the rules while doing it, making a huge impact, and living my design and manifesting miracles on the daily. Join me as I break down and simplify everything you need to live in alignment with your human design, teach you how to recondition your unconscious mind for greatness, and to take back your power so you can manifest your heaven on earth and serve the rest of the planet at the same time. It's time to give up the fear and step into your highest potential, to reach for the stars, to know and live your greatness. It's what you deserve, and it's what the planet really needs from you. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. If you use human design in your business in any way, stop what you're doing because you're going to want to hear this. I want to tell you about something we use in this business that has been responsible for bringing in nearly 25,000 new leads and over 6 figures in revenue in a completely automated and passive way. It's not too good to be true, so stay tuned. That incredible thing is the BodyGraph chart software. This is the total tool that allows us to put a human design chart generated on our website so we don't have to send people to another website for their chart. The best part is we can offer our customers the information we want them to have. If you know me, you know I have a different take on human design, and I want to make sure that the language is empowering, useful, and actionable. With BodyGraph chart, we can customize everything from the reading reports, chart links, and follow-up emails to make sure that they contain the information written and curated by me, so I know each person is in good hands. As for the tech, that's totally Taylor's thing, but from what she tells me, it's super easy to use and set up, and their customer service is incredibly helpful. It's really affordable as well, especially because you get a 50% off for 1 year as a listener of this podcast. Just visit the link in the show notes and use the code HUMANDESIGNPODCAST, all lowercase. It's by far one of the biggest investments in our business and gives us powerful automation technology that allows us to focus on the bigger picture. I cannot recommend it enough. Go check out the show notes for all the details. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Well, it is that time of the month again, and with me today is the amazing Yvette Mayer. Welcome.
So happy to be here, coming live from Bali this time. So I'm sure we'll be chatting about our experiences a little bit in October of Mama Bali.
Oh my God. It's the first time I've ever been to Bali, and I just fell in love with it. Like, we arrived at, I don't know, like midnight or something.
Yeah.
And we were driving through the dark streets of Denpasar. Like, we hadn't even got to Ubud yet. And I'm like, I don't know what it is about this place, but I think I'm going to love it. And I just totally fell in love with it.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's very high on the spiritual connection frequency.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't, like, it's hard to describe because you just feel different when you're here.
Yeah. And
if you're open to that.
Well, and I think also, like, the way, and you're absolutely right, like, it's palpable. The spirituality and the connection to source is really palpable. And the way people interact with each other, like the kindness and care, and
Balinese
you know,
people.
like, oh, I know, right? Balinese people are amazing. Like, their sincerity and their genuine nature, even though we're, you know, like crazy white people, like, you know, turning their beautiful home into a probably overused,
populated,
exactly. But they just were the best. And oh my God, I just loved it. So I'm a little bit jealous. I've not been to Uluwatu where you're at. So it's on the list.
On your next trip,
amazing.
As somebody this is my 16th or 17th trip to Bali, and I've stayed and travelled extensively, I keep moving to where there's less people.
Yeah.
But This right now is Ubud's amazing, but Ubud's actually busier than it is here,
Yeah,
depending on where
right.
you are. But I also know that this is going to get just as busy as like Canggu and some of the other spots in time. So your next trip, come here before that happens because
Yeah.
it's spectacular. The coastline, the color of the water, and you love the beach. You would love it
Mm.
here.
Oh my God. All right. I'm just going to get myself over there as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
good. All right. Well, let's dive in. Let's get going
Let's
on
do
these
it.
transits and start talking about the month that was, huh?
Uh-huh. So I thought I'd kick us off by just giving us a little bit of an outline of what's coming, and then we'll go into October
Sounds
and
good.
what we've just been through. So the big picture is that we've been through a run of splenic gates. So we'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a moment. And we're about to come out of that. We're also coming into the fourth and final quarter of the human design year. So the quarter we're coming into, and it's imminent, it's within the week, is the quarter of transmutation, or it's also known as purpose. It's very purpose oriented and fulfillment oriented, and it's purpose fulfilled through yourself and doing what you love.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, it's definitely this is the quarter of like transmutation as well. It's like ending out the cycle and starting a new cycle. So I love that focus on self and what you love. Like, yeah, super, super important.
Yeah, and I think, the word transmutation is change. It is transformation, but it always comes from within. It's not
Yes.
the external reality, it's the change within self.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
So
think,
that's going to be
I
the
love,
theme.
yeah, and I love this word transmutation. It was funny on retreat in Bali. I think it was T. She said to me, someone said, what does transmutation mean? And I literally just turned around and I said, it's something changing from one form to the other. So it's not like something is completely changing, it's changing form. So like a
Mm.
butterfly, a caterpillar transmutes, because it's taking
Ooh.
something, so it's taking energy and just turning it into something new. So all of us listening, all of us on this episode, we're constantly transmuting energy.
Yeah.
In um, uh, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks a lot about sexual energy. And for all the generators and manifesting generators out there, again, we transmute sexual energy into work energy all the time. So it's this taking this thing and changing it from one form into another form.
Yeah, beautiful. So I love that definition, I always liken it to transformation, but to give it that spin of the changing form or the shifting form, it makes it feel more personal to me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And the theme underneath this is really about continuing to come back to you and trusting that what you love is the thing that you're meant to be doing, to become more
I
of that.
But do you know what I love? I love that this is something that I am consuming everywhere at the moment. It doesn't matter who I'm listening to, but they're
Yeah.
talking about following your passion, following the thing you're meant. Like,
Yeah.
it's not human design spaces and it's
Yeah.
not human design language, but that's exactly what
Yeah.
they're talking about. And it's in this
Yeah.
correlation of the quantum, of
Yeah.
everything being energy and how we actually are living everything at once and we get to jump from one timeline to the next. And how do we jump? We follow our passion. And I'm geeking
Yeah.
out on it at the moment. So no
Yeah.
surprise because we're going into the quarter of that.
And this is what this quarter is about.
Love it.
It's also, as we come through into this month, we're leaving the splenic run and we're moving into a bit of a mix at the beginning, but there's a lot of sacral energy coming through at the end of November. And I would say if I zoom out and look at the month through a business and marketing perspective, it's a really good time. It's a really buoyant, lots of high frequency, good energy around to make moves. So
Mm,
if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, really listen to the different energies that are going to come through, and work with them. Absolutely work with them as
Yeah.
the month
I
unfolds.
love it. And it's really interesting. We were having this conversation on the Bali retreat about, people like, oh, well, we don't want to do anything running up to Christmas. I'm like, are you crazy? Like, this is the best time. Like, this is the
Yeah.
best time now to be
Yeah.
selling things and launching things and doing
Yeah.
things. And I think people think that, oh, well, life is too busy, so people don't buy. No, people buy.
Mm,
This is a really
people
buy
definitely
time.
buy.
January in Australia,
Yeah.
not so much. It's not
Yeah.
quite the same in the States
Yeah.
because we have a really big
Yeah.
holiday in January,
Yeah.
but this is the time. So business owners, get out there
Yeah.
now.
I think statistically it is the biggest quarter of the year. I mean, it would be for
It is.
retail, but money
Yeah.
moving, and money
Yeah.
moving means opportunity. Money moves more
Yeah.
in this quarter than any other quarter.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
energy in the human design transits is very supportive of that as well.
Yeah. Love it.
So to go back to October, I did a lot of reflecting on October, just from my personal perspective and the people in my community, and listening to you as well. What I think I've noticed is, because it's a completely splenic energy, that the spleen being about survival, health and well-being, instinct, we talk about the spleen in its high expression a lot, but it's also the center of fear and
Yeah.
facing mortality. And if you look at it thematically, that's certainly been my experience of the month. It's been the polarity, the like, parts of me are extremely healthy and happy, and that is my physical health, that is my financial well-being. All of that's been really good, but I've also had the polarity of, just after we recorded last month, my bestie puppy went to heaven, and so I've had a lot of the going through loss and grief,
Yeah.
and having to hold both. So I've certainly observed that, and not just in myself, but I've also seen a lot of discomfort and hard things happening for others.
That's really true. I mean, I reflect on October, and there's definitely been really big breakthroughs for me where I've had to just face the things that I perhaps haven't wanted to, or to take
Yeah,
responsibility.
yeah,
I've definitely seen around me some really, really hard breakups, some loss. I actually just got some news last week that someone I don't know personally, but someone who's very close, like a person that I was convinced I was going to meet, because there was like one separation, 1 degree of separation between this person and me, because they were friends with a lot of my friends, and I kind of felt it was inevitable. And they died, and it was, for me, and even though it wasn't someone I know personally, although I know their work very well,
I know who
I
you're
was
talking
like,
about as well. That
oh my
affected me
god.
too.
And I
Yeah,
was really surprised. I was
yeah,
really taken aback, because this person, well, it's just not what you expected. And usually
no,
when I hear these things, I'm kind of like, it comes from a place of, I'm very compassionate, but it doesn't directly affect me. So I definitely felt that. And this person was very, very purpose driven, and had, two
absolutely.
children and
Yeah,
a big mission. And I don't know, like, it really kind of, it hit me. It really affected me. So I definitely resonate with that, with October.
yeah, yeah. And just to add on to that, I know who you're talking about, but I landed in Bali, and you know what it's like when you get off after an overnight, any time change. You're already a bit tired, and I got a message to say that my auntie is very close to the end, and I've had a
Mm.
lot of loss this year. Then I heard about this individual passing as well, and I just spun into my like, what is going on right now?
Mm.
And it's just a lot to process, isn't it? And it's this energy that's around right now. I think the biggest lesson we can always and have to kind of take is that life is so precious.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
best we can do is to not take it for granted.
Yeah. I totally, totally agree. I think it's such an important time. And it's interesting, on that note, I've just started working with a new coach, and there's so much work to do with this coach, like so much homework, work between sessions.
Oh, wow.
And and I didn't, when I signed up for this, and this is someone I really want to work with, they're already retired, and I convinced them to work with me. And I didn't realize how much time it was going to take.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get to my session 2 and I've done all the work and I've missed the last question or something. And, that NLP principle, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, is in my ear. And I'm like, oh my God. And I literally get to this session thinking that's what this person's going to pull out. You didn't make it all the way to the end. And I get through this session and this person basically gives me this, really clear, I don't want to say lecture, but very, very distinct direction of what you just said. And that was, Emma, you must stop running around and hustling and rushing yourself and, stop, slow down. It's all going to work out, and really learning to allow more through the channel, more through. And honestly, I feel like I live a very easy, flowing life, but I do have a bad habit of rushing myself from place to place and overcommitting. And I think that that's also a big theme for October for me. It's almost a rebirth, because whenever we have a lot of loss, we also have a lot of birth. So I feel like that's something for me as well, that I'm in this real rebirth place.
Oh, that's big. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that as well, but I think I'm still going through a bit of loss, internally. It will come. The rebirth will come.
But it's so hard, I think whenever we lose, especially losing Chili and someone who, your heart, it's hard. And I think we often try and rush ourselves through it, and that's not the way to go about it. The way to go about it is to feel all the feels until
it starts to heal.
Exactly.
Feel the feels and
I love it.
And there's just poet didn't know it.
Exactly. Feel the feels until you heal, baby. I love it.
I don't think there's a timeline, and I know she's a dog, and I know some of the listeners might be like, she's a dog, but for you listeners, I'm a single woman diagnosed with breast cancer, aged 39, no kids. I got Chili when I was going through chemo as a bit of a chemotherapy gift to myself as a companion, and I had 14 years with her as my closest companion. We moved to New York together. We spent 5 years in New York. She's been everywhere with me, and as her life went on, it got better and better because she got to spend 24 hours a day with me as I moved into entrepreneurship, and she was always by my side. So it's a big change in my world.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of the listeners get it. I mean, I did a whole podcast episode when I lost Bailey. So
oh, did you? I didn't know that. I'm
oh
going
my
to
God, I did a whole episode and I sobbed for most of it.
Oh,
and I got so much good feedback. These beautiful friends that are listening, they get it, babe. They get it.
And I'm non-emotional, but I have cried more tears for this dog than I've ever cried in my life.
Well, it's because we do love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
It's because they don't have to be anyone and we don't have to be anyone. They love us unconditionally. So
absolutely.
I think it's a very different love.
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to all the dog mama and papas that are here feeling into this. It's big. Anyway. Yeah. That's October. We're right now as we record this, we're in the gate 44. So we're that's the last gate that we're transiting through in the Splenic Centre. And we're getting into some different energy. We're coming into as I said, the final quarter. So things are going to start feeling a little different. And I don't know, I think they're going to start feeling a bit lighter.
Good.
Good.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. So without further ado, let's get into what is happening in November. So the big picture, the major planets, we have been in the same positions for the last few months, and that's not changing in November. So we've still got Jupiter sitting in the 45, Saturn's in the 63 right through the month. The nodes are still with the 18 and then the south node in 18 and the north node in the 17. So there's not much to explore there that we haven't explored on the last couple of episodes. Mixed energy, like the 45, I find is a very like abundant and collaborative or collective energy. The 63, that doubt or inquiry kind of energy sitting in Saturn. So that could be the thing that's a bit of Achilles heel at this time. The nodes, with the 18, we get the judgment piece, but we're pushing into more positive opinions, I would say, and perspectives. The other one we usually mention is the 55. It's not playing a big role in the system in the transits right now. It will pop through the moon transit on the 10th for a few hours if you want to look at that specifically and go into your abundant spirit energy at that moment. You can do that. But we're going to spend the most of our time talking about the sun transit, and then we'll get into the Mercury transit as well.
Cool.
So right now we're in the 44. We've just come into the 44. Perhaps as you listen to this, I think this is going to go out pretty quick fire. That's the energy that we're going to be in. This is another one that is a more collective kind of energy. There's a lot of collaboration energy in here, team, that sort of vibration. It is splenic, but it connects through to the heart, which is different. And I do really find that depending on where that channel's connecting through to, it definitely has a different flavour. So this one is more expressed outward in a way than some of the more intuitive, and especially the ones linked down through to the root center. I find they're where the darker energy sits. It's that energy combination, whereas the 43 is more about wanting the best for all, wanting the higher potential, and using your intuition to look for how do we reach the collective highest potential rather than just self.
Yeah, I love
How
that.
do you receive that?
Well, I think that's fair. I love that like the 44. I always and I say this every time, like it's like the oldest gate. It has the history, the total
It
human
has the
history.
karma, yeah.
So it's this energy that is, it's older and wiser and kind of gets it. And yeah, in that shadow, if we think about the gene keys, it's almost it's trying to control people, it's trying to manage the tribe, it's trying to manage the people. But yeah, in its gift, it's all about teamwork. It's that part of like, okay, we know what works, we know what doesn't work, and if I trust each person within the tribe to do their part as part of the team, then we're going to, move towards survival and more than that, hopefully. So yeah, I think it is a time that can be very collaborative, but it has to come from a place of trusting that those around you will do their part.
Yeah. And it's funny because I've done a bit of reflecting on this one in the gene keys and the low frequency, and it speaks to there being an inherent system and not disrupting the system by, I guess, getting in your own way, or maybe even bringing karmic baggage in from, genealogy, past lives, or more than that, karma that your ancestors have lived out.
Yeah. Because
And
it is this. Sorry.
you go.
I was just going to say, because it is this energy of like, it wants to move us forward. It wants to move the human race forward. But in the shadow, it's changing for the sake of changing. In the gift, it's moving things forward for the greater good. So in the shadow, it's in the ego, but in the gift, it's in the heart. It's like, okay, well, really is what is good for us as a tribe to move forward.
Yeah. So I would say that this is a good time to be thinking about not just self, but how am I helping move us forward together? And what does my support team look like? Be that personal, business, how do I think team and my team as in my broader team, my angels, whatever that looks like for you, and really connect into that and look at what is the potential here when we're all aligned for the highest good.
Oh my God, I love this. When did the 44 first go
Today.
into the sun?
Today.
Because the last few days we've been having big conversations like with the family of like,
Yeah.
okay, enough's enough. We all need to play our own role, like take responsibility for, because the boys have just, I don't know, I've let them just kind of do whatever they want, and now there's way too much on me.
But
So
boundaries are
it's
coming
really
back.
interesting. Exactly. So we're now
Yeah.
all about, the roster's back, responsibilities back, like Cooper's doing all his own washing. So I feel like we were a few days ahead, but we're definitely into
you
that
know what,
energy.
Em? As usual, that is perfect for you because Mercury's been through this energy. So the communication, you're out in front with the communication channel. You're like, the 44 is in my field right now, and I am going to move into this energy ahead of the solar transit. I'm there.
I love it. Nailed it.
Okay, so last splenic gate. Then we are moving into, this is the gate, we talked about this last month. This is the first gate of my human design transit series on YouTube. Gate 1. We started with gate 1. So it's a fun one. It's the gate of self-expression. Like I said, like as far as authenticity in business and being your full self and expressing that in a way that is aligned with who you're meant to be and having success, beautiful energy that we're coming into.
Yeah, and it's so, you're so spot on. I always think like the one is the divine masculine, even though we have this whole contention, is it the one, is it the two, were they flipped in the I Ching, whatever, we don't know, but as far as we do know, it's the masculine. So it's the doing energy, it's the focus energy, it's there is the voice sits in here, creativity sits in here, and it's this place where I always think through the frame of the gene keys, the one is where in the shadow, I think it's inertia. I'm not 100% sure, but it's all about no energy whatsoever. It's about this this black hole. And the mind tries to fill in the black hole, but the heart's like, no, let's just leave the gap. Let's leave the space for creativity to come in. So it's also a time
beautiful.
like, don't be afraid if you're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, what to say, what to anything. Like, love the gap because the creativity is going to come through the gap.
So funny. We're coming into this energy in a few days, but as I sit here in Bali, it is tipping down with rain, and it's my last 2 days here before I get on the plane home. And after this call, I'm kind of done with work while I'm here, and I'm like, but it's raining. The gap is presenting itself to me. What will I do in this gap? I already started thinking, should I start writing my book? That actually happened.
Wow. Yes. My sacral says yes.
Yeah, it's funny. So yes, that's the kind of thing that can happen in the gap. It's like what creatively wants to come through. Yeah. What else was I going to say about this one? It's in the G center. So purposeful, identity related, and it connects up through to the throat. So it's pushing towards wanting to come out as well. So that is through until the 10th. And then on the 11th, we move into another great energy, which is gate 43, sitting in the ajna. Have you got 43 in your chart?
I've got it in
my... When you went like that, I'm like, it's an MS.
It's my core talent.
Of course you have. Like amazing. I think of this as original insight, like very insightful energy, breakthrough energy. Do you want to talk to us about this because you live it?
The other thing is like, and friends listening, it's the creative rebel. It's the person who is like, you think? No, I'm going to go this way.
Yeah.
There's an amazing quote in the Gene Keys, and I'm like, that is literally me, that talks all about the creative rebel. But the other
Beautiful.
thing that I love about the 43, and you've already touched on it, is the breakthrough. As a
Mm,
coach, that's what my superpower is. And I
mm.
don't think I would have realized if it wasn't for the Gene Keys. I don't think I would have really, really
Wow.
understood, like, oh, wow, because that's what happens. Every time people work with
Yeah.
me, they get a breakthrough, a big, significant breakthrough.
Yeah.
And then, my incarnation cross jumps in and helps them strategize and build and whatever. But it's that breakthrough that's the real, I don't know, I love it. And it's really addictive. It's also this place where it's a listening, it's an auditory energy. In the shadow, it's deafness. And I, as a kid, used to literally stick my fingers in my ears and go la 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 when I didn't want to hear something. I didn't want
Mm,
someone to tell me something, or so that's been such a big player for me to really understand that I consciously and sometimes unconsciously would choose not to hear things, to be deaf to
mm.
things. But yeah, the 43 also has, because of its relationship to the 23, it's also
Yeah.
got an air of simplification. So being able to take
Mm,
really big concepts and then simplify, and often through insight. Again, these insights, these intuitive hits, these knowings, these auditory knowings that come through, they're also part of the really cool gifts of the 43.
yeah. Well, as someone who's worked with you as a private client in years gone by, I certainly had huge breakthroughs. And the biggest breakthrough and like defining moment was when together we realized that I needed to focus on business coaching.
Yes.
And that changed everything for me. So you're
Yes.
right. You're right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so 43 through until the 16th, so mid-month. Then we go into a gate that I love because it's a very prominent one in my chart, which is the 14, which is from the 17th to the 21st. So just beginning of the second half of the month. This one sits in the sacral, connects through to the G center in my only channel.
Yeah.
And it's about power skills or possession in great measure. So when I said there's lots of business marketing friendly gates coming through, I mean, this one is depicted in the I Ching as a chariot full of gold on the back or treasure.
Yes.
So this is a very optimal energy for creating abundance
Yeah.
in the material world.
Yeah. I love the 14.
Me
It's
too.
one of the money gates. It's especially the whole channel.
Yeah.
The 214 is a very, very abundant channel. It attracts resources to not just the individual, but the family or the community or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and the 14, the thing I always remind people with them is that the money tap gets turned on when you're uniquely you. But if
Yeah.
you try to be someone you're not,
Yeah.
then the tap will get turned off again.
Yeah. Well, having contemplated this one very deeply because it is my core wound
Mm-hmm.
in the Gene Keys, it gets turned off because you're compromising yourself and you're not being
Exactly.
true to your potential or what your higher self could be. And then when you are, you're so capable and things are going to work and you're going to attract powerfully.
Yeah, I love that. And we've actually got we're doing business by type panels in HDX. So expect an invitation to be on the generator panel coming your way very
So
soon.
fun.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so fun.
Looking forward to that.
Mm,
Awesome. Okay, so we go from there to another power gate, the 34, coming
mm-mm.
through between the 22nd and the 27th. We've moved into these sacral gates now. So the 14 is sacral, the 34 is sacral, and then the next gate is sacral as well. The 34 connects through to the integration channel. So it's in that circuit where it connects to the throat. 3420, very, I know you have that, so you definitely have these gates as well. Very manifester, communication oriented channel, but it also connects to the spleen. It also connects in through the G center, and it is about power, but it's power over force.
Exactly. It's self empowerment.
Yeah. And so it's not about the hustle. You were talking about this earlier. It's about that like trusting in self and having innate power, and you can't hustle for that.
Exactly. Exactly. I think it's such a, and I've got the 34 in my North Node personality
Yeah.
side. And I was actually talking to my coach this week, and I was saying about the story I always tell about the 34, and the lioness, and how the lioness is the one that, has the babies, raises the babies, feeds the pride, hunts the food. So her time is so precious, and the
Mm,
lioness will wait for weeks, before she pounces, because she knows to conserve her energy for when that slow bison comes past, and she can like take down
yeah.
something really big. So it's like least amount of effort for greatest amount of gain. And which is something that I'm mastering. I've got better and
Mm,
better over the years. But the thing that I say to people about the 34 is a lioness would never chase a bunny rabbit.
yeah.
So stop
Yeah.
chasing bunny
Oh,
rabbits.
that is so
Wait for the
good.
bison. Wait for the bison.
That is so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Off topic, but on topic because we're a lot of business owners here. Um, this has been this energy, and it's actually my Jupiter. So I know that this is really important for me and my own journey towards growth and abundance. Is very much not chasing the bunny rabbit.
Yeah,
But in October, when I've had a lot of loss and upheaval, and I came to Bali, like I've not been in my business all that much. But what I did do was I focused on money making activities only,
yep,
and in a really beautiful, heart centered, like what I think is the most powerful thing I can offer right now. But I launched something that I only did really through sending voice messages, which I've never done before, but I was able to do that in like 10 minutes every
yep,
other day while I was grieving or on planes or whatever. And it was a hugely financially big month
yep,
regardless of that. And so I think that's a really good example of the 34 energy.
yep. I totally agree. I love it. And it's interesting you talk about that, because I'm just about to launch something big, really big. It'll go to HDX first, so I'm not going to burst the bubble before they get at it first. But it's
Woo-hoo.
exactly that same thing. It's like, focus on the big, most impactful thing that you can do. And for me, it's also a product that is the biggest, most impactful product I can create.
Yeah.
And yeah, because it's those things that do make the difference. And I think as entrepreneurs, I think in the beginning there is a level of, hustle. Don't love the word hustle, but there is a level
Mm.
of, you got to kind of do the work.
Yeah.
However, you get to a point where you've got to do less to let more through,
Mm.
and that's where I'm really learning to master it. And, like, I certainly don't hustle. I don't work, I only work 3 days a week. I
Yeah.
certainly am not hustling like I was 4 years ago, let's say. However, the more you grow and evolve, whether it's you personally and then ultimately the business or whatever it is in your life, it's really about mastering exactly that, doing less and less and less, and focusing more on the most, the thing that moves the dial the most,
Yeah.
with the least amount of effort, energy, and time.
Yeah. And the intuition is big in this as well. And you kind of referred to that, but this offer that I was selling in October, the idea came to me on a massage table.
I love it.
And I'm like, I need to do that.
Yeah.
And you really have to be open for that as well, and not just to write things off that are flying through your head in those moments when you're out in nature or you're traveling or you're in some sort of moving state. Like
Yeah.
getting a massage for me is definitely a time when ideas drop in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that
Yeah.
so much. And it's spot on. And it's funny, the same thing for me. It was when I was in Bali. And I could even been mid massage as well. Like,
Oh my
our
god.
little sacral's just responding, responding, responding. I love
Yeah,
it.
it's nuts, isn't it? And
Yeah.
it's these little moments when things are massive, like massive breakthroughs. The 43 energy, the
Yeah.
breakthrough, it just drops in, and you're like, let's go. So listeners, really listen out for your intuition. And is it Charles Ting? Anyway, that saying, easy is right.
I love
I
it.
love
Or
that.
Occam's razor. The simplest answer is most often correct.
Yes, beautiful. All right, so the 34 comes through to the 27th, and then we move from 34 into gate 9 just for the last couple of days. There's still very power. We've got the 14, the 34, the 9. The 9 is taming power of the small in its traditional sense. It's about, I think, intentionality, like putting your focus on the right things.
100%. And it's that piece where, I mean, again, the 4 is my design sun or radiance. The 9 is my design sun or radiance. And it's this thing where in the shadow, the 9 feels like you're stuck in Groundhog Day and you're just going round and round in circles, chasing your tail, doing the same old things that aren't getting anywhere. But in its higher expression, it's all about focus. It's all about knowing, like, where am I moving towards? What is the dream? What is the focal point? And when you know what that is and you attune to it, you align to it, then every small action you take is in alignment with that goal or with that focal point. And, when you have the 9, like, I have this ability, and I was talking to someone, I think in HDX this week, where when the 9 is focused on something, a runaway train could run me down and I'm not losing my focus. Do you know what I mean? Like the 9 is when it's correctly focused on the right thing, it's an immovable force. I think in the Gene Keys, it's even called determination. Yeah. So this is also going to be a time where whatever you have energy to focus on. Where's your passion, obsession? Where's your energy going? And focus on it. However, if you find yourself getting stuck in the details that don't matter, then you're in the shadow of it. So get out of that and into, where you have passion to put your focus.
Yeah, beautiful. You just made me remember that I have this in my attraction sphere in the Gene Keys. I'm like, are people attracted to my determination? Maybe.
Yeah, probably. They'd want to be.
Yeah. They're going to get caught up in it. They're around me much.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that brings us to the end of that brings us to the end of the sun transits for November. As I shared at the beginning, very, like, if you're in the high frequency of these gates, this is a beautiful time to be taking bold, powerful moves in your business and life, let's say. Yeah. When it comes to Mercury, we, at the moment, as I said earlier in the episode, so we're experiencing the sun gates early through the Mercury channel. So we're already feeling all of these gates we've just been through. But as we get to the end of the month, there's another retrograde coming.
Okay.
They just come all the time. So we're going to keep moving through. We're going to go through the 14, the 34, the 9, and then a couple more gates that are going to show up in the sun in December, which are gate 5. So another sacral gate, another gate that's very prominent in both of our charts. I always think of you around this energy of...
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's so prominent in your chart. I can't help but think of you when I talk about the 5.
Yep.
And then from the 17th to the 26th, because of retrograde coming, things start to slow down. And, we go through that cycle where we get one gate hanging out in Mercury for a long time, and it's the 26th.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So I know that last year when the 26 came through the sun transit, I launched a new offer because of it, because it's a very, as long as it's in integrity, it's a very sales-friendly energy. And I launched something because of it and it went off.
Yeah,
so,
I love that.
I think great month, given that I'm hearing that you've got something new coming with this energy as well. So the 26 is basically the entire second half of the month in Mercury, although it pops out into gate 11, 27, 28. So gate of ideas, still really amazing energy. and a great time if you want to do some ideation, if you want to get your team involved, and that communication sense towards the end of the month, that's going to happen in Mercury as well.
Beautiful. Oh my God, that sounds exciting. November
I
sounds
know.
fun.
I'm excited, and I feel like we're worthy of a really good month, right?
Yep,
All of us.
absolutely. All of us. All of
All of
us.
us. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's a wrap. That's a wrap on transits for this month. Anything else you want to add, Em?
No, that's super exciting. I'm pumped about November. It feels like I don't know, like there's definitely sort of a new start, or
Yeah. Well, new
maybe
quarter,
next level,
lots of
or
sacral energy.
lots of doing energy, rubber hits the
Yeah.
road energy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Yay.
Well, thank you
Let's
so
do
much,
it.
you beautiful human.
Thank you. We're moving into November tomorrow, so let's go.
Yeah. Let's do it. We are ready and prepared for November. So thank you, everybody, for listening. I trust you got what you needed from today's episode, and thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone, for being here all the way to the end of the podcast. I hope you got lots of value out of it. I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. Could I please ask that you share this podcast with friends if you found it valuable? And also, bonus points, could you leave a review for me as well on Apple? It would be greatly appreciated. If at any point you would like to be on the podcast, or you've got questions that you'd like me to discuss on the podcast, by all means get on my socials and DM me. Everything you need is there in the show notes. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.